We'll now call the committee of the whole to order. Number 2, police department's need for full-time officer to replace old full-time officer.
Okay. You want to start or should I start?
Go ahead.
Okay. What I put in front of you is just information that I gathered. It includes a timeline, as you can see, and I'll read it for everybody here. I'll stand up so you can hear me. So a timeline of events on the 19th of August, possible first word of a resignation from Officer Kazuski. That officially came in on the 20th. That resignation was turned in on the 20th. So I discussed with Chris the protocol that we need to do to look at all options before proceeding with the hire. We need to look at full-time versus part-time. I did acknowledge that there's been scrutiny of the budget in the past. So I asked her to look at, but at this time would be smart to potentially look at reduction of hours, shift changes, 8 versus 12-hour shifts, and then patrol hours potentially by the chief of police. At that time, I thought we were going to have some time to work on this. The 22nd of August, Chris must have reached out to several board members asking permission to go ahead with hiring a full-time officer, and then at that point had asked for the interview process to be committed by the Public Safety Committee. In the next day, on the 23rd, Friday, I received numerous calls from the village board members asking what was going on in the procedure and also asking a proper hiring protocol. I went back to the chief and asked why I asked for her what I asked her. I went back to the chief and said, I need to know why we did what we did, because I asked you for a proper protocol to take your time to do a thorough investigation on what the right move was. And I suggested it'd be in the best interest of her moving forward to have it as a committee, the whole meeting, to put it in front of all board members. Since then, I've reviewed data. I can give some bullet points of what I found. I've reviewed data that I solicited from Outagamie County. That data is dated January of 2019 through August 27th of 2019. I discussed options with the WPPA Lear representative, Rich Bergheis. I've given a bullet points of things that him and I have talked about, pulled directly out of the union contract, such as the village's right to manipulate a schedule, revise the schedule, create or eliminate positions, make changes to create efficiencies for the village. We can also select officers to evaluate performance and establish standards. We also have the right to contract for services. And then the biggest notable that we came to is any of the officers that remain would have to come in agreements to any shift changes, such as an 8 to 12 hour, from a 12-hour to an 8-hour shift. We also reviewed the current SRO contract, just not knowing all the details of it, seeing what it is, because Officer Hauser does do patrol on halftime. I wanted to see what the specifics are in that matter. So some of the findings that I did find, and I put those on the bottom. Upon review of the call volume from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., basically 32% of the call volume still comes in at that time. So obviously that's a third of your day results in 30 of your calls. The halftime SRO schedule varies to accommodate the patrol hours, but is also random enough to align with the needs and desires of the school district. The addition of the additional full-time officer would make scheduling easier. Chris and I have discussed that numerous times. She's got a nice tool that it's Sling is the name of the tool. She's also very concerned about retention of employees if the village chose to staff with a part-time help, because there are other costs associated that she would have to give you and I can't. Hence the reason for this meeting. We did discuss Chief taking more patrol hours. She does it currently to fill a vacation and other situations that may arise. Year to date, the PD overtime budget is at $42.79 with an approval of $5,000. Now this is also, so you're at 85% of your budget at 66% of the year. Some notables that we have to take into account tonight is that the village is growing and aging. So the call volume is exceeding and is growing. If so choose to think about reduction in hours, it would also affect revenues. That's something we need to look at, because winter parking becomes a major player for writing citations. I also looked at the insurance lines, Delta Dental, life insurance, ADD, STD, all insurance. Came back this year with no increases. However, health insurance rates came back at a 12.4% increase. And that is approved. That will be approved on our, or I'm hoping to have it approved as our wage and benefit report is approved. That was our best out of 6 options. So did a little math here. So with the 2019 rates approved by the union contract, a full-time officer would be a starting rate of $21.11 versus a $16.95 per hour for part-time. With contributions, WRS would be the same. Chris could talk to that, the calculations, because these part-time officers would immediately get contributions because they'd have enough hours to qualify for WRS right away. It would be, I think it's a 600 benchmark, correct?
Depending upon their status, it could be 6 or it could be 12.
So we basically need to factor in Wisconsin retirement system contributions immediately. It's going to happen. Also, the health insurance increase, factor in life insurance at 301, sick time at their hourly rate times their week times the year, equates to 2,026.56. Delta ADD for the benefits. It puts you at a full-time benefit range of additionally $44,000 to $7,000 annual, which equates to another $2.12 to $3.36 per hour. So my rough calculation comes to that this is delineated to make a $13,000 to $15,000 implication for the department. Something we need to look at. Having just qualified the budget today and taking the numbers that were put from 2019's budget into 2020, if we add a full-time officer, that would be it would be after a $12,000 increase alone to the police department budget for health insurance. So it's just something we had to look at. Simply putting the facts out, this is your discussion, so that's what I can tell you. So, okay?
I have a question, and I'm not to interrupt you. In here you say something, there's been scrutiny in the past about the budget.
Yes.
Was there a time at a meeting that we scrutinized the police budget specifically?
Yes, there was. There was in the hiring of the new village board member and the vacancy of the village board member, the police department budget was scrutinized by 3 of the applicants.
Of the applicants, but
Correct.
the board. So
Correct.
when you use the term the board, you're referring to the current elected officials, correct?
Correct, but it was also at the application for applying to the board,
I
correct?
just want to be
Yep.
clear, because
Yep.
I've heard the term
Good.
quite frequently in the last couple of weeks. The board has directed me. And I just want to be really clear that I don't remember being at any village board meeting or public safety meeting directing or scrutinizing a budget. It was the
Good.
interviewees that scrutinized a budget. They also scrutinized some things with public works. Are we going to bring that up at a future meeting too?
If you so choose, we can.
Okay, I just want to be sure that we're not
Okay.
nitpicking
And I will
one
also go on
department.
record and say that we did not have any public safety meetings to date,
All right.
so.
All right, and Chief, you have anything to fill in on this?
I do. I received the same document that he just spoke of. So I kind of threw something together, worked the entire day, trying to put something together quick. I will hand out what I have here. If you just want to kind of look over, I think I have enough here, my printer kind of. Another one for you. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time, I don't want to take a whole lot of time, but when I applied for this position, the one question that was asked from me is, how are we gonna retain officers? And the answer to the board was, is you need to treat these people with respect, you need to treat them well. You need to allow them to advance to full-time positions, create specialized positions such as K-9, FTO programs, things like that. But one thing that we can't do is we can't allow the village to be a stepping stone, because that gets very costly. And with that being said, where I just came from Shiocton, they created a full-time position because it was a revolving door. We went through so many part-timers in the last 4 years that's all we were doing is we were training. And at the rate of, I sat down today and I figured out that it costs $7,716.03 or $13.06, whatever. But it's $7,700 to train a new officer. And that doesn't include the time that you have, because you have to train each one and they have to have a minimum of 80 hours to be with an FTO who also is they're giving them a 50-cent pay raise per hour to do that. So in the sheets, you're gonna see where we talk about the cost of hiring, the cost that it would cost to have constantly new people in here. But getting back to my my opening comment here, it's important to retain the officers, and we can train them so that we're not wasting money. And it also impacts morale, which is very important for a workplace. Everybody that comes out of Fox Valley Tech that goes to school to be a cop wants a full-time job someplace. If they're taking a part-time job, and there's not a lot of agencies that are maintaining part-time positions anymore, they want all full-time officers because it's a revolving door. It's very, very costly to a department to continue. And most department heads that you talk to are saying, I would rather have all full-timers, because if you go to the last page and it talks about the pros and cons, that's why you want full-timers. You want the full-timers because they're long-term and they're dedicated employees. They're more recognizable to the citizens and to the community and the business. They have a better understanding of the workings of the village. They're better trained. They have fewer liability concerns. That's a huge one for our department, for any department, liability. If they're not trained and they don't know what they're doing, because if there's an officer involved shooting, the first thing that they're gonna say is, how long has he been on the department? So there's very few shifts that part-timers, officers are needing to cover open shifts if you have more full-timers compared to a full-time working overtime shifts. Overtime shifts are $42.44. So if we run out of part-timers and all our part-timers decide in 1 month that they all got hired at full-time jobs someplace, and we're sitting with no part-timers, now we have to offer the positions to our full-timers at $42.44 or 42 cents. Fewer equipment purchases. Full-timers have a tendency to take care of the equipment because it's issued to them. It's their piece of equipment. This is my body camera. I only wear this body camera. I'm going to take care of it because I need it to work for my next shift. Same thing with the radios that they carry on their hips. They take care of them. Part-timers, they're just, I use it one day, somebody else uses it the next day. You can be assigned to certain tasks. You have the accessibility that if they start up an incident, they're able to follow up on the incident, and it solves the unknown of how many part-timers are we going to have to hire in the year. That's a big, huge budget issue that we could possibly run into if we go with just all part-timers to fill those hours that we have. The con is the benefits. So with that being said, he had the same, pretty much the incidents that led up to the meeting. The reason why I called board members is because I was being told that the board was scrutinizing the police department. That's what I heard. The board is scrutinizing the police department. In my eyes, it's like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I being scrutinized? If I am being scrutinized, I, as a chief, want to fix that problem. I want to know what I can do so that you don't feel that you need to be watching me, or I can do better. So that was my reason that I had called. And then I wanted to get together and have a meeting, and that's when I called the chair, and I asked him to put a meeting together to see where we could go from here. However, that ended really quickly. So So I threw some statistics together here. It shows that we have 35% of our calls during the day shift, and then 39 in the afternoon and 24 in the evening. However, we have the SRO calls, so it's 26, 39, and 24. Our call totals are going up. We're expected to do at least 4,000 calls this year. We had 3,600 last year. So every year we're going up anywhere between 400, 500, 600 calls. A study was conducted in 2017. It was determined that we are responding in less than 3.5 minutes. Then I just kind of talk about our structure of our department that we have here. On page 4, we talk about the full-time versus the part-time. It indicates there that currently we have part-timers covering 1,480 hours. I base this off of the 2020 because it's just right around the corner. So part-timers could actually cover up to 2,536 hours for a total of 43,847. Our current budget right now is for 30,000. So down below it talks about training, personal hours, sick time, vacation, and things like that. A lot of the officers are taking their vacation and their sick time, or their vacation and their personal days and their comp time during the summer. That's great because I got Brian. Brian and I end up picking up the vacations, and Brian worked several nights. I don't know where Brian went. There he is. He worked several night shifts while Sean and I were on vacation. If I take a vacation day, he or I are normally here, so we kind of work that. So page 5 has got the startup cost for the full-time versus the part-time. And this is where it talks about the cost of training somebody. Right in the middle it says $7,713.06. This doesn't include all the additional things that have to be done. Spillman needs to be contacted, and then all these other entities have to be contacted to keep adding and removing part-time officers. It consumes an awful lot of my time. What happens then is they have to be put into a computer system in the police department so we can access. That takes up time again. We could hire out a computer service company to do it for us, but if I have the ability to do it, then I'm gonna do it just to save tax money. Down under it says just to start up, it doesn't include the hours work. So I kind of broke it down. So we have to hire 6 new part-time officers next year because we're going to be a revolving door. They're going to keep looking for other employment until they find a full-time job. They aren't going to stick around with us. But if we have to hire 6 next year, it's going to be a total amount of $46,000. If we have to hire 8, it's going to be $61,000. That's just starting up. Break it down. Last year we had to hire 3 new officers this year, and it cost the village $23,000. 1 left due to an injury. 2 were both hoping to become full-time, or they will look elsewhere. The 3rd was looking to get a full-time position with Hortonville. 2 officers resigned to gain full-time employment this year and 1 last year, so that was a total loss of $46,000 that we lost. So then on page 5 and 6, I basically broke it down, the cost of a full-time probationary officer. So the top one is got the wage for 2020 for starting out is going to be $21.53, and that's for 820 hours for a total of $44,000. Then we have all of the benefits for a total of $59,272. The proposal for that the administrator that David's proposing, we're going to have 3 part-time officers starting up. So that's going to be right off the bat. That's going to be at least $21,000 to get those 3 officers up to speed for a total of $109,055. The proposal for the chief Then if you look right below there, because on the very bottom of page 6, it says additional hires within 1 year due to officer turnovers. So say for instance, we hire 3. 2 of them decide to leave. Because they got hired, one got hired at Green Bay, the other one got hired at Milwaukee. Now I gotta hire 2 more, it's gonna cost me another $116,000. The proposal for the chief spot here, the one that I'm considering is that I'm looking to promote one of my part-timers to a full-time position. We have him, he's trained. Then we need to only hire 1 part-timer. And hopefully that part-timer sees that we're expanding and that this jurisdiction, that this village is growing and that the population is exceeding, that it'll make him hopefully hang around long enough that if we do decide to go with a two full-time SROs, there might be room for advancement. There might be, maybe we get a K-9 unit. We're waiting to see what happens with the K-9, with the drug laws and things like that. But maybe we look at getting a K-9 where we're looking at maybe adding another officer on. But if there's some type of hope, then they're gonna wanna hang around. We have the SRO contract for 2019, 2020, and the school portion pays out $84,000. So the difference between the full-time and the part-time, so it's basically between the administrator proposal and the chief proposal is $5,000, $5,135. I put some comparisons for the departments so that you can kind of see how many, there's 6 departments there. We basically have the population, how many full-timers they have, how many part-timers they have. A lot of the departments that have the part-timers aren't working. They're just hanging on to that. They're working full-time someplace else. So I asked the chiefs whether or not that they were working chiefs or if they are administrative chiefs. All of them said that they were administrative chiefs and they filled in where they needed to be. And that's basically what I do. I don't fill in just for vacations. I was on 3 calls today. So whenever there's like welfare, actually I was on 4 calls today, forgot. I was on 3 with one officer, 1 with another officer, plus I was doing school traffic in the morning. I'm out there and I'm doing what I can do. And then in the office working on these different things. Any questions for me?
Chief, is this a board-approved position that you're trying to fill?
Well, this, apparently now Brian can speak to this better than I can, because in 2016, 2017, which was wonderful because I could look back and get this information, but in 2016, 2017, they were approved a position?
Yeah, it was after the school district approved the additional .5 SRO position. We did, a cost study of adding a full-time position versus maintaining those part-time, and what we came up with was a difference of a couple $1,000s. So we opted to go with a full-time position, which has been maintained until.
So would it be typical that you would just hire and fill this position? I guess what put the brakes on?
Right,
What
so
stopped?
what had happened is I spoke with Brian, and Brian's like, the typical policy that we've always done in his 15 years is that if a full-time position leaves, we fill it, he advises the village administrator. That's what happened with Diane, and whoever was before that, same thing with Chief Sullivan. They would fill the position and then they would just inform the administrator that they filled the position. So I basically went to inform him that Kazuski had given his resignation, and then he immediately told me that I needed to think about options and that I couldn't hire anybody.
So the board didn't give any?
No.
Because that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the board is directed not to hire a position, and that's what I don't understand. I don't understand where that comes from, because I'm part of the board. I was elected to represent.
I didn't say anything about the board, and I need to clarify too. This is not my proposal. My intent to you was to tell you, you need to get information to put in front of this group of people. Okay, this is the
And that's what I
diligence,
did,
okay?
yeah.
I have not gone on record to say that there is scrutiny. I said there has been scrutiny in the past,
Okay.
to the point where this
Sure.
board has looked at dissolving this police department I said, you need to look at all options moving forward. It said it couldn't have come at a better or worse time because it's at budget season.
Where
We
is
need-
that coming from?
Yeah,
This
I've been
board?
on this board for, I'm going on my 5th year. I've never, ever heard any discussion about dissolving the police
I was
department.
told
years
Am I wrong?
2 years ago, Diane had produced it. I have it on my computer.
We discussed whether or not,
Before we could hire a chief, we
Exactly.
Whether
looked
or
at
not-
it
They
because
looked at
we
it.
were having a lot of difficulty
the county.
getting a
Absolutely.
chief.
There's
agreed
There was
on
discussion.
There was
There was
discussion.
That
one-
what he
is the
said.
only time we
But there was never any
discussed
mention
it.
of dissolving the Hortonville Police Department.
They took the liberty to get quotations from county.
Right.
So what I said is this couldn't have happened at a worse time because it is now budget season. I said, Chris, you need to do your diligence to find all of your information and put your facts together because we have got to make a proper decision here moving forward. I said, there are line options, okay? I addressed the police department. I went in there. Here's what I need to tell you guys. I don't live here. I don't care. You're a pass-through administrator. You're not going to stay here. That's what I was told. And I said, you're out of line. I'm doing my job. Because as I'm directed, I need to look at everything from the top down. And that's all budgetary constraints and numbers, because moving forward, our budgets are going up. And it's not in payroll, it's in benefits and everything else associated. We need to take a thorough look at everything when we do this. I then pulled together our directors and I said, listen, this has to happen at every time somebody is hired or terminated or removed. Did it happen with Public Works? No, it did not.
that's what I guess I'm curious. if
But
you
here's what
compared-
this is what I defended to the board, or not to the board, to the directors. We contract for services to the tune of probably 2.5 to 3 times of an employee's cost. It's at any point, we should be hiring 1 or 2 more Public Works employees, but we don't. We contract services. So when we could come in and replace that employee for $1 less an hour and less benefits, we moved on it immediately because we needed it for the services that we need for the village.
One of the big red flags I've had is you made mention about SRO. That's a contract we have with the school board.
I know that, but Julie, in our contract, we can also determine, we can remove that, we can break it, okay? In the union contract,
No,
we
no,
can
I'm talking about the
negotiate.
SRO with the school district.
I understand that, okay, and what I said is, I told Chris, I didn't tell her to dissolve it, I told her you need to look at every option because he's a viable patrol officer to our department, where he could be pulled back into the department. I said we could have a part-timer, if we needed to put a part-timer in the school district, to fill a 20-hour gap.
Okay.
It's an option we needed to look at.
The other flag I'm throwing up is when we talk about like police union or contacting them, and I understand maybe you were just inquiring, do we have a union rep that's on our force? Do we have legal? Were either one of you aware that that we were considering renegotiating a union contract?
That was never brought up. This is, Julie, this is all fact finding. This is to put
Yeah,
proper
it would be.
information in front of you people so we hear all the facts. There's never, this is not my
I need to
proposal.
understand, David.
That's why I didn't make a recommendation. I put the facts in front of you. There's no proposal here. I didn't make a proposal. I put the
No, no.
facts in front of you.
When you, I guess
We're
what my
gonna have to
question is,
wrap this up shortly.
Yeah.
Yep.
when we make a phone call to WPPA, is there a process to that? I guess that's what I'm more curious about. I just want to make sure that we're not getting in any trouble or getting ourselves in a bind because we're contacting the police union when there's other parties that are generally involved in the police union. Legal advice or the union rep that's currently here. I just want to make sure we're not getting ourselves in a bind with the union.
David just made a call and
Okay, there's just an inquiry.
asked what his capabilities are, or what the village's options are. I don't
Okay.
think that's
I just want to make sure.
And I got the contact from Brian. So I mean, I wasn't going behind anybody's back. I offered, again, Julie, this is not me trying to reduce a shift. It's me saying, hey, we need to look at every option going forward. That's all it is. And I basically said, we need to do this every time. We scrutinize, we're gonna spend months on a budget.
So we don't need to make a motion or.
There's no
because it's already
decision to be made here
approved.
tonight, not at
There's no
all.
decisions.
No decision,
We
no
need to
decision.
wrap this up though.
Yeah, but I would like to make one comment, and I'm gonna direct this to you. Did you at any time, this again is fact finding, approach your officers and make a mention that be careful, the board is watching your back?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That's not what I heard.
Because what I did, after the scrutiny that came through, and the words that were said when we were trying to replace the board member on the village board, I went in front of these guys and said, listen, There has been talk of this budget, there's been talk of too many police in the village. I said, this is a matter that we need to deal with. I said, but you gotta understand, I'm here to tell you that I have your back, and we will work through this. This is not a proposal for me to cut an employee's position. All I'm saying is we need to do a thorough investigation of all aspects of the hiring process. And it's come back to basically say, well, Public Works did it, so why can't police? And I just went out and that's where we had our little directors meeting yesterday. We had to put it out there. So if something needs to come out of this, it should get there. What I told Chris is I said, this isn't a meeting for a decision. It has to get directed back to public safety and then put in front of the village board.
Okay, so I want to make just a quick comment, just to hopefully try to diffuse stuff a little bit. I think that everybody here is doing their job, right? You're a department head, you're supposed to work for your department, come up with numbers, justify what you want. You're the administrator, you're supposed to crunch the numbers, look at everything, try to figure, and we are the ones who are supposed to figure out the budget. Don't shift them. So it eventually falls back to us. I mean, because your department, just like Carl's department, just like the fire department and the EMS and everybody else, we're going to be going through all that. So I don't think anything is out of line. I don't think anybody needs to get all shook up about it yet, because nobody is saying anything is going to be cut. Nobody is saying anything is not going to be cut. What it appears to me is we're looking at the budget, which we have to do every year, right? And everybody wants money. Everybody does. So what we decide as a board will be where things end up. I appreciate all the information. I just want to say, let's everybody stay calm. Don't attack each other, okay? Because everybody's doing their job.
In the meantime, does she hire this position?
Right.
That's where I'm
So
at.
how
I think
should
that's
she
where
move
you're at.
forward?
It's
We
got
have
to
to
get
have a
diverted to
public
public
safety
safety.
meeting.
All I wanted to,
It's approved.
Why didn't
position.
that happen first?
It's
I'm
never-
wondering.
because it was at my recommendation that all parties involved, not 4 of you, that all 7 of you hear this. So,
But we look to committees to recommend to the
Right.
board, so I guess I'm wondering why that was skipped.
The Public Safety Committee has never before in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, made recommendations to hire. We've always let it up to the department head. So why can't she move forward? Why do at this juncture, do we have to go before a Public Safety Committee to let her approve or hire a full-time position?
I agree.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, actually, I'm looking at like the sheet that
We gotta wrap
David
this
gave
up.
out. I know we have to wrap
Or
it up.
overtime.
We can be over. We just don't start.
And it says the village board can make changes to maintain, create, revise, eliminate positions, manipulate schedules. So that to me says that it's actually our responsibility. And anytime that any group of this board, whether it's Department of Public Works or police or anything like that, anytime that we decide that we want to manage it, it is on us.
So you
Anytime we don't want to manage it, we should be.
So you're saying that Public Safety Committee should now take this under action?
I'm
Is that what
saying
you're
that yes, we should
Then you
take a
should
look
call
at
a
it.
meeting.
Yes.
But then is Public Works gonna take over hiring of Public Works employees? I think this is a board, the board, I was on that board when we approved that position. Because we had the data, it's an approved position. Are you within budget right now, Chief?
Yeah.
Is your budget next year within budget?
we don't have a
If
producer.
you,
We don't
if you
have-
had,
yeah.
It hinges on this.
put
budget.
that full-time
It hinges-
position open,
Right.
but if you had to hire part-timers, it's really not, this is a board-approved position. It's no different than I was on the library board. We had, these positions were approved, and the director is in charge of keeping within that, you're within budget.
Right. The problem, like what I was explaining before, is that if I hire a part-timer that's gonna cover these 4,000 hours, how many part-timers am I gonna use? And if we're talking $5,000 difference, why, I mean, that's only for hiring 2 or 3 part-timers. What happens if I need 6 part-timers? So if I need 6 part-timers, that's 47,000.
I think we need to further this
Right.
with a public safety
Right.
meeting, because we need to start our board
Okay.
meeting. And we can't make any decision right now anyway. I
And it
mean,
boils
it's-
down to David
yeah.
doing his job at cost cutting, and she doing her job at maintaining services.
Yeah.
That's what it
So-
boils down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, we can further discuss this.
Right.
Okay, well, I hope we can get a public safety meeting
Soon.
probably before the next board or something. I mean, it'd be nice to do.
I
it
would
sooner
like to
rather than
have something for Chris for the 19th, so she can move forward with the hire.
later.
I mean,
Absolutely,
that's,
I
that was
think,
the intent the whole time.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I've been forward with Chris on everything. This is not her and I battling. It's just,
right.
I
Let's
gave,
just- let's
I gave her
just,
the
uh,
sheet that I prepared for you all, so she could prepare for the meeting. So, it's just, we had to put the information out there, in case there's
Okay.
any discretion that you guys wanted to ask her questions, and we ran out of time, unfortunately.
I
So-
need a motion to adjourn though.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Committee of the whole meeting.
Okay.